Hi everybody, this is just a quick video for troubleshooting when teaching drop toys. So here is my little puppy, Epic, and she's really food motivated. So when I have food out, she doesn't want to play with the toys, she wants to eat the treats. And if you're working on drop with food and you're tugging with your dog and then you present a treat, then the dog can sometimes not want to play tug anymore and want to eat the treats. So actually right at this moment, she's realized there's some more treats up on that counter. But before I started playing tug with her over here, I have some treats on that counter back there. So what I'm going to do is get her invested in playing tug again, and then the moment that she's tugging, I can mark her, good, and then go and get a treat from this cup. And then I'm going to show her I have no more treats, all done, and then I'm going to get her to play with the toy again. And it might take some time to get her invested in playing with the toys rather than going off and checking where she might get treats from, because what she's saying to me is, actually, I prefer treats right now to tugging. But if you go through this training, what you're going to do is get the dog to want to work for you. I'm going to move over so you can see if she goes over to the cup. But what you're going to do is you're going to get the dog to want to work for you for the things you have, and what they're learning is that the things they want, it's in their best interest to do what you want them to do to get what they want. So here she's tugging again. I can say, good, and then I can go and get the treat from the cup. So drop it and tugging are kind of like yin and yang. If you work too much on tugging, it's hard, and you need to work more on teaching the dog to drop if the dog is really good at tugging. But if the dog is really good at dropping for a treat, you have to reinforce tugging. So that's why when she comes back and gets re-engaged in the toys that I'm playing with over here, that's when I'm going to mark. So I want to make sure she's engaged and she doesn't just come over and as I mark runs off. I want to make sure she's playing with this toy nicely before I mark it. Good. And now I'm going to go get the treat. Good job, Epic. Good job. And now I'm going to say, all done. Show her I have nothing so that she doesn't feel confused that she has to do something like perhaps sitting in order to earn the treat. And I'm going to play with the toys again. If I wasn't sure that she might not get the toy, I'm not going to say get it, because what can happen is you say get it, get it, get it, and the dog is standing looking around for how they can get the treat off the shelf. You might even have to keep the treat in another room. So you go to the kitchen, give the dog a treat, come back and play the game, and your dog might be sitting there in the kitchen, and it might take a while to get the dog invested back in the toys. And then as soon as they're invested, good, and then go to get the treat. Awesome. And now I'm going to move closer to where the treats are kept and see if I can get her back interested in tugging on the toy. Good. That was very good, Epic. Now even closer. Woohoo! Woo! Get it, Epic. Good. Good job. Show her I have nothing, and then make the toy come alive again. Good. Awesome job. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Hi. Now she's looking over to see the cup and hoping that she could do something in order to get the treats out of the cup, but I'm going to play with the toy again, and as soon as she's invested in that toy, good. I'm going to mark and reinforce. Good job. Ready? Get it. Good. Good girl. Good girl. Get it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Good girl. Oh, yeah. Drop. Good. Once your dog is reliably letting go when you say good to get the treat, you can instead start to say drop. So I'm going to play with her with this toy. Drop. In your training, you might not get to the point where you need to start adding the cue drop to have your dog let go of the toy. You simply need to say good and move towards the treats and let go of the toy, because most likely the dog's going to drop the toy in order to go and get the treats. But in a couple of training sessions, you then might be able to add the cue drop, where once the dog is engaged in tugging, and she's not that interested in tugging right now because the treats are there, so I shouldn't really be working on this with her. Good! But once the dog is engaged in tugging, kitty, 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 you then say the cue, hold on, then say the cue drop, good, and then say good and go get a treat. And show her I don't have any more, awesome, and then get the toy. The next step, which I'm not sure if Epic is ready for yet, is then having the treats in your bait bag or in a treat container that your dog already knows to leave in order to do behaviors. So I have these treats in a cup over here, and I'm going to try and get her interested in the toy. I can show her, all done, that I don't have any treats in my hand like I was doing earlier with the cup, and then I'm going to wiggle the toy around and see if I might get just a tiny bit of interest in going for the toy. So this type of game is too hard to begin with, because as you can see, you get a half-hearted interest in the toy because the dog is telling you, I want these. But after some training, if you break the steps up small enough with having the treats far away and move towards the treats in small approximations, you're going to keep that interest in playing with the toy. So at some point, she's going to, good! She's going to go for the toy, and then I'm going to feed her a treat. So she's not ready for this step just yet. I'm going to continue to play with her where the treats are further away and really build that interest in, yes, I can totally play with the toy with you even though the food's there on the shelf. But as you can see here, it was much harder for her. In between the training sessions where you're teaching your dog to tug even though there's food around and teaching drop using the treat, you can simply play tug with your dog and then just let go when the game's over and let the dog enjoy the toy if it's appropriate for the dog to have a toy like that. You can also play a game with two toys. It's better if you have two toys that are exactly the same, as the dog might have a preference for another one, but it's a game that a lot of dog trainers play when they don't want to teach drop using food. And to play the game, there are different ways of playing it, but a very simple way is that you move one toy and get the dog invested in it, and you can move the toy back and forth gently like this so that the dog doesn't readjust their grip so much. And we haven't really worked on tugging so much because she's been losing her teeth, so I've been avoiding tugging so that she doesn't have discomfort while we're playing tug. But here she's gripping it better, and then I'm going to hold it still, and to get her to change to the next toy, I'm going to wiggle the other toy around like this until she's engaged in it. And when the dog starts to drop it reliably within a second of moving the other toy, you can add a cue. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support my work, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. You can also become a supporting member of channel Kikopup by clicking the join button. See you later.